So let's learn more about HTML and the structure. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and we use HTML to show any kind of content on a web page. It can be a headline, or a paragraph, an image, a video, or even a button. So we use HTML to show any kind of content on a web page. To do so, HTML uses tags to tell the browser what kind of content each element is. Is it a headline, or an image, or even a button? And the structure of tags are very simple. It starts with an opening angle bracket, then the name of the tag, and then the closing angle bracket. So if we have a piece of text and we want to tell the browser that this text is a headline, we are going to use the h1 tag. If we want to say it is a paragraph, we are going to use the p tag. And if we want to say it is a button, we are going to use the button tag. But how are we going to place these tags connected to our content? So let's say here we have a word coding, and the way we put the tags is to put at the beginning and at the end of our content. And if you pay attention, the first one is the opening tag and the second tag is the closing tag. Now, if you look closer, the closing tag has a forward slash before the name of the tag. This will tell the browser that this tag is just closed, and everything between these two tags, depending on the name of the tag, you have to show another way on our browser. For example, if you want to show this word coding as a headline on our browser, we are going to replace the name of the tag with h1 and the closing with, again, h1 closing tag. And as you can see, the coding word will appear as a headline on the browser. Now, what if we change the content? So let's remove it and write down, for example, I'm Puya. And the content will change. So whatever comes between these two tags will be defined based on the name of the tag. Okay? It's that simple. That's all HTML. And as we go forward along the course, we are going to learn different type of tags and how we have to use them, where we have to use them, and what are the different properties for each of them. That's all. And let's go for the next lesson where we are going to learn more about the structure of an HTML file. In this lesson, we are going to learn more about the structure of an HTML file. Every HTML file starts with an HTML tag, as you can see here, which inside the HTML tag, we have two other tags. The first one is the head tag, which inside it, we put the information about the web page, like the title of the web page, the icon of the web page, the other files that is connected to this file, keywords, description, and much more. All the information about the web page goes here. The next tag is the body tag. Everything that you want to show, like title, text, images, buttons, whatever you want to show, it will go inside the body tag, right? So this is the general concept of an HTML file. Right now, let's jump into the VS Code and create our first HTML file together. So here on my desktop, I have created a folder called dev course, and here inside it, I have another folder called practice website, okay? And I have opened my VS Code, and here all you need to do is to click on File, click on Open, and just open the file. We talked about it. I have already opened it. You can just click on Open, and as you can see, it's empty right now. Click on this icon, which the name is the new file, and here write down index.html. So this is our HTML file, and you can see the format is HTML. And to begin with, there's a simple code that can create the basic structure of an HTML file. Just write down HTML, and you can see here we have HTML file. And on the left side, it explained what it includes. So I'm just gonna press enter, and you can see here we have a doc type, which is the type of our file. Then we have HTML tag, and let me remove some of these to later we are going to talk about every single item, as you can see here. But for now, I don't want them to be a distraction for you. So here we have the HTML tag. Then inside it, we have the head tag, as you can see here. And inside the head tag, as you can see, we have a title. The name of the web page is document, right? And then we have the body tag and the closing tag for HTML. Okay, so if I change this, for example, write down my page, okay, and if I save it, on Mac you can use Command and S, or on Windows you can use Control and S to save your file, or you can come here and click on Save. And here all you need to do is to right click on the file and copy the path, right? So I'm going to copy the path and come here to my browser and just paste it. Okay. So as you can see, we have nothing here. It's an empty page. But if you look at the top part here, it's written my page. This is the title of the page. As I told you before, whatever we write here inside the head, for example, the tag title carries the title of the page, right? Let's write the code that we learned in the previous lecture. So let's write down h1, and in the middle I'm going to write down this is my title, okay? And when you're done, just save it and come here and refresh the page. You see, now we see the title. This is my title, okay? So it's that simple. And the structure of an HTML file, whatever we want to add to our page, will go here, and the information about the web page goes to the head tag, okay? So that was all for this lesson. On the next part, we are going to learn more about different tags that can help us create our page. During the previous lesson, we created an HTML file with a simple code inside it. And during this part, let's learn more about the different type of headlines and generally the texts. Okay, so till now we have learned about the h1 tag, which stands for headline, but that's not the only tag for the headline. There are more like h2, and I'm just gonna copy and paste the same text here so you can see the difference exactly. So I'm gonna save it and come here and refresh, and you see the size changed. And this goes up to h6. So I'm gonna just copy and paste it and write down, just change the number 4, 5, and 6. And if you have installed all the extensions that I mentioned in the first section of this course, for example, here, if we come, there is an extension that I have. I think it's auto rename, that it's gonna rename the closing tag as you change it. So if I change this to, for example, 6, you see the closing tag change as well. So that's just a side note to make your work easier. And I'm gonna save it, come back here and refresh it. And you see it goes all the way to the small level. Now these are all headlines. And as a suggestion, again, this is a side tip, in every web page, use h1 only once, okay? Only once. This has some positive effects on search engine and Google search, stuff like that, which later as we go forward, I will point out to it. But as I said, it's just a side note, okay? You can use as many h1 as you want, but it is suggested to use only one. There is one thing here that I want you to practice as we go forward, and that is Google search. It's a strong tool for a developer to learn and understand how he or she can search on Google and find the exact information about coding and the questions that you have. Okay, so let's say you don't know how you should create a title, or in general you don't know anything about headlines. All you need to do is to come here on Google, search for example, HTML headline. If you just search for HTML heading, there are several links here. Now the first one is from W3 Schools. Okay, this is one of the great sources that you can use and has a lot of information inside it. So you see here, it has the same example, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and it shows the codes and you can try it yourself. And for example, let's change this to, for example, H5, and 5 and run the code, and you see it changed. So W3 Schools is one of the sources that you can use a lot. It has a lot of information, a lot of good examples that you can use, and sometimes you don't need to memorize all of the things that you are going to learn. Just knowing about it, it's gonna help you every time that you need it. Just with a simple search, you can find it. The second link here is from Mozilla, which it's very common between developers to use this source, and you can easily find them or refer to them to this site as MDN. So if you go on Google and just write down MDN, okay, it brings you the information, the pages that they have regarding that topic. And you can see here we have H1, H2, H3, and it goes all the way, and they have the examples and the output on the right side. Okay, so these are the two pages, the two websites that can help you a lot. And the third one, which is very useful, is Stack Overflow. Right? You can come and search for it, and then it will bring you some examples. Of course, it is mostly used for some advanced stuff or some other issues rather than just some, for example, basic tags. But anytime that you want to do something and you don't know how to do it, you can simply come on Stack Overflow and search for it. And usually at the beginning, there's a question, and under it, there are some answers. Okay. So these are the three great sources that you can use to learn more about programming and to find solution for the problems that you have. Let's continue learning more about the text. Earlier in the course, I mentioned another tag called P, which stands for paragraph. And whatever you write here, this is my text, will appear as a paragraph. You see, it's the size, it's smaller. This one is bold as a headline. This one is just as a simple paragraph, simple text. And it's really useful. From time to time, you can use it. We are gonna learn where it's better to use it in a web page later. But let's say I want to mention two other tags and close this lesson. Let's say you want the word text to be bold, okay? We have the ability to use tags inside tags. As you can see here, for example, we have HTML, then inside it we have the head tag. Here we have the body, and inside it we have H1 and the P tag. And we also have the ability to use tags here as well. So I'm going to write another tag here. I'm going to add a space, not to mix it. I'm going to write down strong, okay? And close it. And I'm just going to cut the text, the word text, and put it here. I'm going to save it, okay? So the word text stays in between the strong tag. And if I come here and refresh it, now it is bolded. There's another tag, which is EM, which stands for emphasize. And if I refresh it, it will be italic, okay? So these were some of the simple tags that can come really handy for you along the way regarding writing texts, different type of it. And as we go forward, we'll practice this, and we will learn more about each of them as well. Okay, so till now, you can just create your own page, your own HTML file if you didn't till now, and just play with the tags, write some tags here, and try to practice what we have talked about till now. That was all for this lesson. If you're ready, let's go for the next one. The next subject that we are going to learn is HTML list. It's very common when you're creating a web page. And before we create it, let's search for it and see what we can find about it on the sources that we have. So I'm going to come here and search for HTML list. And I'm going to open W3 Schools. Here are some examples for the list. The first one, as you can see, it is an unordered list. It is not ordered, meaning behind each element you cannot see numbers or anything counting. And this one is an ordered list. As you can see, there are numbers here. So how we can create them? You can go through the codes yourself, but as we are here together, let's do it. First of all, let's create an unordered list. The tag for it is UL, stands for unordered list. Okay, and inside it, we are going to have another tag called LI, which stands for list item. So here, let's create a category list for an online shop that sells different kind of clothing, right? For example, the first one can be suit, and let's go for the next one. This one can be shirt, for example, and dress. And the last one we can use here can be, for example, shoes, right? I'm gonna save it, and let's come to our page. And here's our list: suit, shirt, dress, and shoes. And if I want to change this to an ordered list, all I have to do is change the tag. Now, for ordered list, all we have to do is to change the tag to OL, which stands for order list. Make sure you change the closing tag as well. As I said, I have an extension that do this for me to make my life easier. You can install it as well. But in general, just make sure they are the same, because if it's not, you are not going to get the same result. And as you can see, here we have an order list. Now, I have a practice for you. At the top, we want another list for our navigation menu, okay? So here is your objective. First, create a list for the navigation menu at the top of the page, and the list should include a home page, a shop, a contact page, a profile, and a sign up, okay? Just create a list, an unordered list that include these items in it. Pause the video and give it a go. I hope you have done it, and it should be very simple, as it is very similar to what we have done here. So I'm gonna come here at the top in the body part and just write down unordered list, UL, and close the tag, and inside it we're gonna have list item. The first one is for home, and the second one is for shop. The next one is for contact, and then we will have profile, and finally, as a last item, we are going to have sign up, okay? So that was very simple, right? And we come here and refresh it, and we have our menu. Of course, as we go forward later in the course, we will learn how we can style it, how we can make it look beautiful at the top, like an navigational bar. But for now, we are just creating the content, okay? So that's we're gonna do the job for now, and later on we will learn how to style it, okay? So that was all about lists. One thing I want to add really quickly here as a side note, here you see when we create a new tag and we want to add something inside it, it jumps forward. You can do this by pressing tab, it will jump forward or go backward, okay? This doesn't have any effect on the code, okay? It can be here or it can be in front, and if you refresh the page, it's gonna have the same result. The only effect that it has, it will make reading the code easier for us, okay? You can, for example, add some empty spaces between these main items, so when you're looking at your code, you can understand it easier. If I save it, you will see the result is exactly similar, okay? So indentation and adding spaces in your code doesn't have any effect in our result in HTML. All right, that was all for this lesson. On the next lesson, we are going to learn how we can create links. So when we click on, for example, home, shop, or contact, or profile, or sign up, we go to that page as well. Okay, so that was all, and see you on the next lesson. During the previous lesson, we created a navigational menu. But as you can see, it's not clickable and it's not taking us to any other page on our website or on other websites. So let's make them clickable. To do so, we need to use the tag A, which stands for anchor element. Okay, so I'm gonna add A here and then put the word home inside the A element, the A tag, right? Now, if I save it and come back to our page and refresh it, we see it's not still clickable, okay? It's more or less the same thing, right? Even though that we added the tag here. The reason is because A tag requires additional information. Right now, it doesn't know where it should take us if we click on it. So there is another element that we need to add inside our A tag, which is called attributes. Attributes provide additional information about elements, and all the HTML tags can have attributes. Depending on their type, they can have different kind of attributes. And the structure of attributes is like this, that we have the tag, then we have the name of the attribute equal, and inside quotation, we are going to have the value of our attribute. So for our case, we need to add attribute to our A tag. And the structure is like this. We have our A tag, then we have the name of our attribute, which here it is called href, equal, and inside the quotation, we will have the URL of the destination where we want to go, okay? And then the closing A tag. So let's add the attribute to our A tag here. I'm gonna write down space, href, and you see it already suggests the attribute to me as well. And here I need to write down the URL of the destination. For now, we are going to use Google. So I'm going to come here, copy the address, and paste it here. Now, this first part is important because if you don't have it, it will not execute it the right way. So I'm going to save it and come back to our page here and refresh it. Now it is clickable. And if I click on it, it will take me to Google. Now, this is called external link, because when we click on it, it will take us outside of our website, right? What if we want to have internal links? For example, when we click on home, it takes us to the home page. When we click on shop, it takes us to the shop page. For that, we need to create additional files here. So let's create a file for the shop page. I'm gonna write down shop.html. And here I'm going to write down HTML and then select HTML5. So it add all the required information for me. And here I'm going to add a title, a headline, which here I'm going to write down shop. And I'm going to change this, the page title to shop as well. Okay. So when I save it, and come back here, let's add our A link, the A tag here, and put the shop in the middle. And now when I want to add the URL, I have to write down the name of the file. In this case, it will be shop.html. Okay, I'm gonna save it and let's go to our page. And if I refresh it, this is also clickable. And if I click on it, it will take me to the shop page. You see the page title is shop, and here we have a heading, which is written shop. So it's working. Let's go back to our home page. And right now, I have a practice for you. Here is your objective. Create pages for all other items in the menu, like profile, like contact us, like sign up, and so on. Create pages for them. Then connect those pages to the home page through the navigational menu, as we did just now. And also, all pages must have the navigational menu. Okay, it's very easy, but you need to think about it. So, pause the video and start. So the first step is to create 3 more pages for contact page, profile, and sign up. So let's do that. The first one is going to be contact.html. The next one is going to be profile.html. And then last one is going to be signup.html. Okay, now all of the pages are ready. And inside them, we just need something similar to what we have here. So I'm going to just copy and paste it into contact and change this to contact and contact. Okay, it's just very simple for now. So our navigational menu start to work, right? Here we are going to have profile. Okay, profile, and here we are going to have the sign up page. So the pages are all ready, and all we need to do is to come to our index and add the a tag for each of them. So I'm just going to copy and paste this as well, and again change the names, right? So I'm going to put them here and take the name here and replace it with shop. Take profile, replace it with shop again, and take sign up and replace it with shop here. Okay, and then we need to change this, the address, contact.html. Here it will be profile.html, and the last one is going to be signup.html. Okay, and if I save it, it's gonna work. Let's fix this one as well. Okay, because it will take us to Google, which is not right for our navigational menu, and we need to have index.html. So if I save it and refresh here, and now it is all working. So the contact page, profile page, and sign up page. Okay, so all of them are working. But the problem here is that when I click on the contact page, there is no menu, so I can go back to my home page or other pages. It's very simple. All you need to do for now, you need to just copy and paste this menu at the beginning of all of your pages. Okay, this is our solution for now, but as we go forward and as we learn other programming languages, then it's gonna get much easier for us to, I forgot to save them. It's gonna get much easier for us to create these kind of navigational menu and just use one navigational menu through all our website. Now, if I refresh it, here we have home, we have shop, contact, profile, sign up, and the home page, because I made it bigger, it looks bigger, but it's all similar to each other. All right, so that was all for this lesson. On the next part, we are going to learn more about self-closing tags. During this lesson, we are going to learn more about what we call it a self-closing tag. Now, there are some tags that we don't need to close them. And the reason is because they don't have any content. And I'm going to show you one of them. For example, let's come here to our headline here. And there is a tag that is called BR, okay? And when I close it, when I write the first tag, it will not create a closing tag for it because it is a self-closing tag because it doesn't have any content. For example, for headline, we need a closing tag because between them, we are going to have content, but not here. And if I save it and come back to our page, you see additional space added here. BR adds empty space between the elements. So if I just add BR here at the end of this line and come here and refresh it, you see we have additional space here. That's why they don't have any content because, for example, BR just add empty space. It doesn't have any content. There is another tag which is called HR, okay? And if I save it, HR is also a self-closing tag and it just creates a line, okay? It's like a separator, right? I can add it, for example, let's remove this one from here and this from here. And let's create a line to separate the navigational menu from the rest of the page. So I'm gonna add HR here, save it and come here and refresh it. And as you can see, we have a line that separates these two parts from each other, okay? All right, so this was all about the self-closing tags, and on the next part, we are going to learn another self-closing tag, which is really interesting. So during the previous lesson, we learned about self-closing tag, and we had two examples of it. Now, during this lesson, we are going to learn another self-closing tag, which is really interesting and useful, and that is called image. And we want to add our website logo at the top here before the navigational menu. So the tag for image is img, right? And as you can see, again, it's a self-closing tag and it's not going to close it for us. If I save and come here, we don't see anything. The space created, but we don't see anything. And that is because image needs a source, okay? It needs an attribute, which here for the source, it is called src. And inside the quotation, we need to add the address to that image file, okay? Here I have prepared two files for you. One is PNG and the other one is SVG. About SVG, we are going to talk about it in a moment. And right now we are just going to focus on the PNG file. You can download both of these files from the resources of this lecture. You can do it right now and follow the steps with me. So I'm going to drag and drop this into my project folder, okay? Here it is, and it shows me the logo. And here I can create a folder to make it more arranged. I can create a folder and call it image, okay? And drag and drop this image inside it. Click on move, and now it's moved to another folder. Now here, let me close all these pages. And here I need to add the address to my image. And the address is that first, from here, we need to go inside the folder. So I'm going to write down image slash, and now inside it, I have to write down the name of my file, my PNG file, which it already guessed for me. I'm just going to select it and save it. And if I come here and refresh, we see the logo. Even though that the logo is on its bigger size, but you see the quality is not very well, right? That is a problem that when you use images like PNG or JPEG format for some stuff like a logo of a website or some icons, you may face these kind of issues. And we are going to fix this issue by using an SVG file. So here's a practice for you. Your objective is to add the website logo as an SVG file. You can download the SVG logo from the resources of this lecture and then search on Google and see how you can add the SVG file to our HTML website. Pause the video and give it a go. So I hope you have been successful, and let's start. How to add SVG file in HTML. Okay, so there are some suggestions here. You see we have MDN. Let's open it. And here we are. So there are two ways to add an SVG file. One is by adding SVG code, SVG tag, which I'm going to show you in a moment. But first, let's try it adding by image tag, right? So more or less we have the same thing here. Let's try it. Here we have an image, and inside the source, instead of PNG, let's point out to the SVG file. So I'm gonna drag and drop it here, and I'm gonna close it, come here, and instead of the PNG one, I'm going to refer to the SVG format. And let's come here and let's refresh it. Now you see it's much bigger with higher resolution. And if I just show you the size, the SVG format is 377 bytes and the PNG format is 2 kilobyte, okay? It's 2000 bytes. Now, it is much better to use SVG if the performance of a website it matters for you and you want your website to work much faster, then it is better to use SVG. So the logo appeared here, but it is very big. How we can make it smaller? There's another attribute that we can use, And you can add the attribute before the source or after the source, it doesn't matter, and it is called width. I'm going to select it and write down, for example, 300, save it, and let's see. It's big. Let's make it, for example, 100. That's much better, right? And we made our website, we have zoomed in. If we go to other pages, it will be very, oh, we don't have it here. So we can add it, for example, to the shop page by coming here and just paste it. And let's go to the shop page and we have it. And more or less the size of our logo, it's okay on 100. This is the first way that we can add SVG file to our HTML website. The second way is to just paste the code itself. I'm going to keep this, and here you see we have SVG file. I'm going to click on it, and you see it's not an image. Before the PNG one, it was showing us an image, but here it's not an image, it's a code, right? It's an SVG tag, which inside it there are a lot of information, which using this information, it creates the image that we want, okay? And I'm not going to change anything here. Some of them are not useful, but I'm not going to change it. To keep it simple, I'm just going to select all of them and just copy, come here to the home page and replace it and paste it here. It's super long. Come back here and just add the width attribute at the beginning. And you see there are other attributes here, ID, data name, and some other, which later as we go forward, we'll talk about it. So if I refresh the page on home page, you see we have the second logo here side by side. So you have two ways to add them. Right now I'm going to delete this one because the first way is working just fine and it looks great both on shop page and home page. There is another attribute connected to the image tag which is really helpful, and that is the alt text. So I'm going to just write it down, alt attribute, and inside the quotation here we need to explain what this image is about in a couple of words, not as a description, but just a short text would do the job. And it has two main effects. So right now I'm just gonna write, for example, my shop logo, okay? And I'm gonna save it. Here we are in the shop page, and if I refresh it, you see there is no difference. But there are two main reasons why we need to add an alt text. The first one is that if for any reason your image is not loading, for example, if I just add just a letter to the address, so our code doesn't find the image here, if I do that and come here and refresh it, the alt text will appear. So for that case that the image is not visible for some technical reason, the alt text will explain what the image is about. And the second reason is for search engines. Search engines like Google, they don't understand what your image is about. They only understand it from the alt text. So inside your alt text, when you explain what this image is about, they can understand that, all right, this is a logo of this website, okay? So when you go on Google and search, for example, for my shop logo, then this image will appear. So these are the main reasons that you should use also alt text every time that you have an image tag. So that was all about this lesson. On the next part, we are going to learn more about HTML comments. Alright, so by now we have written some HTML code, and as we go forward, our file would get more complicated with more codes, more lines, and it will be much harder for us to find what we really need. Even though that on the right side you can see we have a mini map, but still it will be a hard job if we have, for example, 500, 600 lines of code. It will be difficult to find what we need. Now, for this and for arranging our code, we are going to use HTML comments. And the way we write them is that we write down an angle bracket, opening angle bracket, exclamation point, and 2 dash. And it will complete the tag for us. And between these two, you can write a comment. Now, a comment is just a text that it doesn't have any effect on our website, but it is here to remind us what this section is about, or to make our file more arranged and cleaner. So for example, here I can write down header, and you can just to make it look more visible, you can add some other stuff to it to make it more visible, or without them, however you want. I usually prefer to do it this way. So for example, this first section is my header, okay? Then here I'm going to have my main content, okay? And for example, here I will have my category, okay? So this way you can arrange your code, and there are 3 reasons that we need to use comments. The first one is that it will remind ourselves that what this part was about, because you may work on this file now and go work on some other projects for a month or a couple of months and then come back here. And this way you can easily remind yourself what this section was about, what this section was about, and so on. The second reason is that if other developers want to work on your file, they will understand your file much better. And third, it will be cleaner and you can find whatever you need much faster. So that's why we are going to use HTML comments. And if I save it and come here and refresh my page, you see nothing is changed here. All right, so that was all about HTML comments. Let's have a short quiz on the next part, and after that, we are going to have practice what we have learned till now. So let's practice what we have learned till now. Your objective during this practice is to create a product card. I'm sure you have seen a product card before, where there is an image, sometimes a title, description, or a link there. But for now, during this practice, all you need to do is to create a product card that includes an image, a title, and a description. I have added a product image in the resources of this lesson, so you can download it and use it in your code. Also, if you don't have the code for the project that we have been working on till now, I have added a zip file inside the resources of this lesson as well, so you can download it, unzip it, and you will have access to all the folders and all the codes that we wrote till now during the course. So if you're ready, pause the video and let's start. So this is the image that I have added in the resources of this lesson. I have added it to our image folder in our project. As you can see, here it is, suit-1.png. And I'm going to the index file here. And to make my work easier, I'm going to add a comment here and write down product card, okay? And under it, I'm going to have an image, okay? And then I'm going to have a title. I think H3 should do the job. And then we are going to have a description, which using P tag would work just fine, okay? So let's add our image, src, and the address, it should be image slash, and then here we have suit, okay? So this is our image. You can write the title or the description that is visible here, or you can just simply write down product title, and here you can write down this is just a simple description for our product, okay? So I'm going to save it, and if we come here to our page and I refresh it, So here is our product card. Of course, it's not as beautiful as it looks here, but don't worry, as we go forward, as we learn more about CSS, we will be able to create a product card like this easily, right? But for now, we only need the content. And you can make the image smaller, but the size is okay. Only in this view, because I zoomed in to my browser so you see everything more clear. It was looking so big, but in general, the size of it's okay. All right, so that was all for this practice. If you're ready, let's go for the next lesson. Till now, we have learned many different things in HTML, and now it's the time to learn how we can add a video to our website. So first of all, I have added this video file. It's very lightweighted. I have added it into the resources of this lecture. So go ahead and download this video on your computer first. And second, if you don't have the files that you are working on, our project, I have zipped it for you. And you can download that file as well from the resources of this lecture. So let's begin. I'm going to take this video, drag and drop it here. And here I'm going to create another folder, write the name video, okay, and just drag and drop it inside that folder. And we can play it. It's a very short video, 18 seconds. It's just a sample, okay? I wanted you to see how it will look. So how we can add this video to our website. It's easy. Come here, I'm going to close this CSS style. And where we can add it, let's come here to after the title and the subtitle, let's add it there. Okay, so I'm gonna add it here. I'm gonna come here, and the tag for it is somehow obvious, video. And video can be both a self-closing tag or not, depending how do you want to use the source. Now, I can just remove it and come here and add the attribute src as a source. And here I'm going to write down the file name slash, and like this, I'm going to save it. And if I refresh it, we see the video. So this was one of the ways that we can add the video. There is another way. Let's go back, right? So we have two tags here. Opening and closing video tag, and in the middle we can have another tag called source, and this source tag is self-closing because we can only have one, and there is no content for it. We need only to direct our source to the video file. So the same way that I added earlier, I'm gonna use src and write down video, the folder name, and then add it and save. And if I come here and refresh it, you see it's still the same, right? The reason that you can use this type, add the source with the source tag, is that depending on different type of videos, for example, here we can have different formats of videos. If the browser can open MP4, then open MP4. If not, you can have the other types of videos with other formats and just add them right after this and direct them to different sources. Or for example, the source can be with different sizes. For example, the first one can be Full HD 1080p. The second one can be smaller with smaller size, and this way. Okay, so now we are just going with one source. And if you pay attention, there is no way we can play it. There is no control bar here. And we can add that easily with an attribute in the video, and that is called controls. Just write down controls, and that's enough. And if I refresh it, now the control bar here appear, and you can play it, you can pause it, but it's so big. What we can do about that? So let's change the width to 300 pixel, for example. Save it, and now it's smaller, it's manageable. Let's make it, for example, 500, a little bit bigger. Let's play it. And there are different properties for video, different attributes for video. For example, if I click on these three dots, I can change the playback speed. There are ways to add a download button here so users can download the video. And you can do all that by adding different attributes to your video. And the way to know more about that, I have added another link in the resources of this lecture, which takes you to the MDN website. And there you can see all the attributes connected to video. So here are the attributes. So for example, here we have autoplay, we have controls, we talked about it. There are different type of attributes. For example, loop. If you use this one, every time that the video finish, it starts again from the beginning. Okay, so there are different attributes here, and there are some events. About the events, we will talk more about it when we get to the JavaScript section. Okay, so more or less that was all about the video and how you can add it and how you can change the settings for it. And on the next part, we are going to talk about something very important, which is called grouping elements. So if you're ready, let's go for the next one. The intro, everything that we have inside this tag. And let's just push them. So we have our headline, the paragraph under it, and the video. So I'm just going to replace this text with a longer text. If you write lorem into VS Code, it will just bring a long text for you, okay? So let's come here. Now, it seems that there is no difference, but if we come here and inspect and go to the developer tools, here we have our div, right? It's right here. And I can add different styles to it, right? So I'm going to just close this and come here and add a class to it, or we can add an ID because we are going to have only one intro here. So I'm just going to go with ID and intro, right? I'm going to save it, go to style, and this is under this part. So I'm going to add intro section. Okay, you can place your CSS code any way you want, but I prefer to cut them into different sections as they appear on my web page. So for example, here first I have the navigational bar, so I'm going to have the navigational CSS here. Then I'm going to have the intro, and I'm going to write down intro here, and then we have the products, which will come after that. So here I'm going to select intro tag, intro ID, and then inside it I'm going to change, for example, the background color to something a little bit darker, for example this one, and save it and come here, and you see the color changed. But the thing is that if you pay attention, there is a small border around our file. Later I will go deeper into this, but if you just want to fix it right now, you can come to body. Let me go to the next line so it is easier to read, and just add margin equal to 0. Okay, just save this, and then it will just stick to the left side and right side, and in general it will look much better, right? So I can also change the color of my title and my text here. I can come here into the intro, change the color to white, for example, save it, and now it's changed, right? As we go forward, we improve the design and the way it looks. So don't worry if it's not looking really good yet. As we go forward, we have a chance to make it better. But now I have a practice for you. Now that we have learned about div, a grouping tag, we have the chance to improve our product card. If you remember from before, I have shown you the product card looked like this. You see, it's all in one package. It has, for example, the image and the top parts are rounded, and you see then you have product, the text, and so on. Okay, now you have a chance to group them and make them more or less look like this. You can use this one of these light background colors, I think it's this one, and create that. So here is your objective. Group the product card, and then inside it add the styles below. So the background color with this color code, and then corners should be 20 pixel. Remove the image border, and then the group width should be equal to the image width, the same way that I just showed you, right? So if you're ready, pause the video and begin. So I hope you have been successful. Let's do the practice together. The first step is to come here and group the product card. So this is our image, then the title and the body. And I'm going to add a div here. Okay. And then place everything inside it. Okay. You can easily, if you want to align them, you can easily go to the next line and just press tab one time and it will jump forward. Okay. So I'm going to save it, and I'm going to add a class to it, since we may have different product cards here. And I'm going to write down product dash card. Okay. I'm going to just copy the name, save the file, and come to CSS. Here, the first item is going to be product card. So I'm going to write it first, then we will have product image. So here I'm going to write down first of all, I need to change the background color. Background color, it's going to be E9, E6, and F0. Okay. It's going to look like this. Then we are going to round the corners for it. So it's going to be border dash radius 20 pixel. And the next objective was to remove the border of our image. Okay. And to make them work better, let's just save it and take a look. Okay, now it's look like this, but you see the width, it's too much, right? And if we come here, if I right click on the image and we bring the inspect, okay, if I take this one and come here and just stay, you see at the top of the image, it is written the width of the image. It's 250 pixel into 250 pixel. Okay, so if I want my product card to have the same width as my product image, all I need to do is to write down width equal to 250 pixel. Okay, I'm going to save it, come here, and now they are all in the same width, right? So it is not exactly same as these product cards, but don't worry, we'll get there. There's another step, another practice that I want you to complete. And it's very simple, very easy, but you need to look for it. I didn't mention it yet. And that is round only the top two corners of the image. So only round the top left and the top right corner of the image. And you may need to search a little for it. As I said, I didn't talk about it yet because I wanted you to search for it. And I hope you can find the answer. And pause the video and give it a try. So our objective is to just round these two parts, not these two, because it doesn't look so good. Look at here. You see the bottom part, it's not rounded. Only the top part is rounded. So to do so, first of all, let's make them equal. Let me just, both should be rounded with 20 pixel. And if we come here, it looks much better. And the thing is that when you add only one number here, it will take it for all four corners. If you add two numbers here, let me just show you 50 pixel, then it will take for the first one, the first number, the second one, the second number. Then again, for the third corner, it will jump back to the first number and again, second number. But if you add four numbers, let me just try, for example, in this case, we want 20 pixel. 0, and 0. Now we have 4. And it starts from top left. So if I save this, now the top two corners are rounded, but the bottom two are not. A little similar to what we have here. Okay, so that was all for this lesson. On the next part, we are going to talk about an interesting subject which is called semantic HTML. So in this lesson, we are going to learn more about semantic HTML. During the previous lesson, we learned about a grouping tag called div, which will give us this ability to group different elements into one package, right? For example, here in the screen, you can see we have different sections in a website, okay? The problem with div is that search engines and other analytic tools, they don't understand the meaning of that group. For example, if we use div to group navigational items, search engines will not understand that that group is a navigational bar, right? And here comes the semantic HTML. So here at the top, we have our header, which it includes on the left side the logo, and on the right side the navigational bar. We already met one of the semantic HTML tags, which has a meaning, and we used it before, and that was nav, right? Nav will tell search engines like Google that this part, this group, is a navigational bar, right? But during the previous lesson, we used div for the top part to group all of these items together, right? So there is a better option to tell Google that this section, this group has a meaning. It is for this purpose. Otherwise, they don't understand the purpose of each group. So we can replace div with header. It goes the same for the next section. For example, for this part, we can use a section. For the next part, which we have our main content, we can use main tag. And inside it, if we have, for example, different articles, we can use the article tag for them. And if we have a sidebar, for example, we can use a side tag, which tell Google that everything inside this part is just a sidebar, right? And finally, the last part, we can have footer, okay? So this is just a sample that I have created for you so you can understand the true meaning of semantic HTML. Inside the resources of this lecture, I have created a PDF for you, and you can download it from there. All the tags connected to semantic HTML exist there. For example, here we have title, header, footer, main, nav, article, section, side, and it goes on and on, okay? All the tags that have a specific meaning, you can just go through them, read them once, and you get the idea. For example, we met EM, which stands for emphasize or strong, which make the text bold before. And you see there, the description for each of them exists under them, okay? And you can go through them and have a look. This way, we can create a better website that search engines understand it better, so they can present our content to more people, to the users that are the right fit for our website, okay? And for this, I have a small practice for you. The practice is very simple. Your objective is to create the footer of our website. Use the footer tag to create the footer, and here is the style for the footer. You can just use the same thing as I put down for you. So the background should be the color code that I mentioned, the height 300 pixel with full width, and the text should be in the center. For number 3 and 4, probably you need to search a little about it, but in general, it's very easy. And number 5 is the color text. And if you're ready, pause the video and give it a go. All right, so I hope you have completed this challenge, and it's really easy. All we need to do is to come to the bottom of the body tag here before we close the body and add another tag called footer, okay? And then inside it, I'm just going to write a title. I'm going to use P and write down this is my footer. Okay. And you can save it, and in the style you can come down here because we are going to have only one footer in this page. I'm going to just use the tag name, and inside it I'm going to use the background color, the color we mentioned. Then we are going to have a height width 300 pixel, right? And after that we are going to have the full width. So if you search for it, it's simple, but all you need to do is to write down width and add 100%. And if I save it, come here, we have our footer here, but you see the text is here. Let's change the color of the text to white. Color, let's do it white, save it. Maybe it's better to replace this with, for example, H2 tag, save it, right? It's better. And I'm just gonna bring it to the center, okay? So there are different ways, but if you search for it, one of the ways to bring it to the center is to write down text, align, center. Save it, come here, and now the text is in the center. And later we will learn how we can center it vertically as well. Okay, so that was all about this lesson. If you're ready, let's go for the next lesson where we are going to talk about forms and how we can create different kind of forms, which is really, really necessary for a website to have. HTML forms, what they are. We use them a lot on daily basis when we use internet, when we visit different websites. And in this lecture, I'm going to show you the different type of forms that we use them daily. So this is one of the forms, one type, which is a sign-up form. When you want to register in a website, you add your information inside each field and then you save it. Okay, this is one of the types. The other type is a contact us form, that you go on a website and you want to send a message to the admin of that website and you just write something in different fields, right? The third type is when you want to order a product online. It's again another type of form, okay? So you add your address, name, email, and the look of it, it doesn't matter. The structure here matters because we can change however they look with CSS later, okay? The fourth type is a subscription form. You see, it's even with one field, it is still a form. And the most common form that we use it every day is search. So in general, everywhere on the internet where there is an input that you can write something inside it and then submit it or send it or save it or do whatever you can with it, that is a form. And during the next couple of lessons, we are going to learn how we can build a form and what are the different types. For example, pay attention to the form number 3, the order form. You see, we have different type of inputs. We have name, we have address, we have email. Then we have a quantity input. You see, it's selected 3. Then we have credit card, date, passwords, and stuff like that. Okay, so we are going to learn about every different input and their type. Okay, so that was all for this lesson. On the next part, we are going to practice creating our first form on our website. Create our first form on our website. I'm going to create a sign up form in our sign up page. And if we come here, have a look at it, it looks like this right now. So first of all, let's fix the navigational bar, import this one. So I'm going to come on my index file, and here I'm going to take the header part all together, come to sign up, and I'm going to replace it with this part. Save it, come here, refresh. Oh, sorry, we have to go to the sign up page and let's refresh it. Now you see the style is not working because here we didn't connect it to the style sheet that we have. So I'm going to take this one as well and come to our sign up file, save it and refresh it, and now it's working. So we need to add a form here. Let's start with a simple form first. So the tag for it, which is more or less obvious, is for. Okay, so this is a form, and inside it we need to add inputs. Okay, and input is a self-closing tag. If I save this right now and come here, we only see a place to write something. Okay, but it doesn't have anything with it. It doesn't have a title. We don't know what is it about. Okay, so let's say we want to have an input here with a button that captures our email, like a subscribe form. Okay, the first thing that I have to do is to define the type of this input. What is the type of it? Because we have different types, and as we go forward I will show them to you. So I'm going to write down type, and here I'm going to write down email, right? So this way the browser understands that here we need to capture an email. Still nothing changed, right? And let's add a button here. Okay, and for example, sign up. Okay, and refresh it, and now we have an input and a button. Let's put the button to the next line. I'm gonna add BR here, right? Save it, and here it goes. Let's add another BR so it goes to the next line. We have some space. Okay, so there are two ways to show the name here. Okay, what type of content do we want our user to fill in? Okay, the first way is to add an attribute here called placeholder. Okay, and inside it, I'm going to write down email. Save it, come here and refresh it. And now inside the box here, let me zoom in a little so you can see it better. Inside the box here, you see it's written email, right? This is the first way. The second way, which is more common, is that you can add a label here, okay? And inside the label, we're going to write down email, okay? And if I save it, it appears this way. We can add a BR so it goes to the next line, right? Okay. And one of the things that connects the label to the input, because in a form we can have different labels and different inputs, but how our code can understand that this label is for this input. One of the ways is by adding IDs and for attributes. So to input, we are going to add an ID, and I'm going to mention email here. And for label, I need to add an attribute called for. And here I mentioned the ID of the input that I want it to be connected. Okay, if I save it and come here and refresh it, nothing changes, but our code now it knows that this label is connected to this input. Even if I click on the label here, it activates the input for me. So it is connected, right? And here, the good thing about the type is that it will help us to avoid writing additional code to verify the content. For example, here we need to add an email. If I just write something, for example, text, and if I click on sign up, then it shows me an error that you must add an email, and an email must have an @ sign. Okay, so because it doesn't have, it is giving me an error. So these are the benefits of using the types. The browser will validate the data added. Now for button, we can also add the type, but by default it has a type. And if I come here, select type, we have different options, and one of them is submit. By default, when you create a button inside a form, the type of it will be submit, right? So that's why it was working. And if I change it to, for example, something else like reset, and if I save it, and if I come here and write down text, and if I click here, then it will reset the form for me. Okay, so it will do another job. That's why I said by default it was on submit. So this was email and label for email and the input for email. But what if we want to have more field? Like, what if we want to have a password field? So let's just duplicate this, and I'm going to change the label to password, and here change the type of this input to password as well. And I'm going to select the same name, or let's write down pass as an ID. And this label will be for an input with an ID name of pass. So save it, come here and refresh it. And we need a BR here. Okay, save it. Right, so if I click on this, it will jump on password. If I click on this, it will jump on email. And if I come here, because we selected the input type as password, when I write something, it shows me nothing. It will hide the password for me, okay? So this is one of the other benefits. But one thing here, let me just show you, test@test.com, okay? And here I don't write anything. If I click on sign up, it will refresh the page and it will accept the data, even though that I didn't write anything. So how we can fix that? Let me zoom in. How we can fix that? There is another attribute that we can write here, and that is required. Okay, you can add it both to the password and to the email. Okay, save it, refresh it, come here, write down, for example, if I don't write anything and I click on sign up, it says that you have to fill it out because it is required. So I'm going to write down test@test.com, and again sign up. Then it will give us an error that you have to fill this input as well, test, okay, and sign up, and then it will accept the data from us. So that was all about the basics of HTML form. On the next part, we are going to have a practice. So let's go for the next one. Welcome to the next part where we are going to have a practice about HTML forms. During the previous lesson, we created a basic form with an email input and a password input. But during this practice, I want you to complete that sign up form. So create a complete sign up form, which include full name field. Okay. You can search for it. It's very easy. You just need to find the right type. It must have email. We already talked about it, so it should be easy for you. It should have phone number. Again, with a little search, you can find the right type input. It should have gender. Now for gender, you have two options to create it, and I want you to search for it. And on the next lesson, I will show you those two options. Number 5, add a date of birth. Number 6, password. We talked about it. 7, add a profile image. It doesn't need to save the image or something like that, but it must be a field that when you click on it, it tries to upload a file, okay? I'm sure if you search for it, you can find the solution. Number 8, checkbox for terms of use, for example. We have seen it a lot on different websites. When you want to sign up, they will ask you to verify, to accept the term of use and privacy policy of a page, okay? And finally, a sign up button, okay? So as I said, you need to search for some of them to be able to create them. And the reason that I give you this practice is I want you to push yourself a little bit harder to find, to look for the solution and find it. And the reason is because when you do it this way, when you try to learn these by searching yourself and trying so hard to complete the practice, this way the information sits in your mind for a longer time and you learn this stuff much better, okay? And also you get better at searching and finding the solution to your problems in programming, which is extremely important. If you want to become a professional developer, you need to get better at searching and finding the solution. That's why I'm giving you these type of practices, okay? So if you're ready, pause the video and complete the challenge. And on the next lesson, I will show you the solution. So let's create a complete sign up form. The first thing we need to add is the full name input with the label. So I'm just going to copy this one, the email that we created, add some space between them so we can understand them better. So this one is going to be full name, okay? And the type of it will be text. And the ID for it, I'm just gonna write down name and name, okay? Save it, come here, and it's working fine, okay? And remember that don't use required on all input, just the ones that are really required. The second field we should have is the email, and the third one should be phone number. So I'm going to paste our label and input again. Here I'm going to write down phone. And for the type of the input, I'm going to write down tel, okay, as a telephone. And you can write number, but number is a little bit tricky because it presents only number. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But tel presents a phone number, which works much better. Okay, the ID phone and the for attribute for the label also phone. Save it, refresh it, and here we have the phone. And you can add the phone number that you have. The next thing we need to add is the gender. Now, as I said, gender is a little bit tricky. There are two options to create the gender. The first one I'm going to create is to use radio buttons, okay? So if we come here and search for HTML radio input, okay? If we come here to, for example, W3 schools, and here you see we can use something like this. We can have a title, for example, gender, then an input, radio input, and then their label. So let's create something like this. The code is available here, but we're going to create it ourselves. So we are going to have text that, for example, mention the gender, and under it, we are going to have input and label in front of each other. So first we need to add input, okay? And after that, we need the label. The reason is because we have the input, then we have the label here. So let's write down the input. And for the input type, we need to select radio, okay? And we need to add an ID so we can connect it to our label. I'm going to say mail, for example. And here in the label, I'm going to mention mail. And let's duplicate this and write down female and female. Okay, save it and come here, refresh it, and we have, let's add a BR here so that we don't mix it with the next one. Okay, so we have male, female. But as you can see, we already checked both of them. How we can fix that? We need another attribute to add to the input, and that is the name attribute. So name, and here I'm going to mention gender. And I'm going to add the same thing to the next input. Okay, save it. And when we come here, now these are connected by the name. Okay, now the code understands that only one of them can be checked. Okay, so this is how you can create create a radio input like this. Let's add the BR here as well, which looks better. This is one way to add the gender. The other way is to, let me just comment this and just get it, bring it here. Okay. Another way is to use select type of input. So here we have our label gender, and instead of input, we need to add another tag, which is called select. Okay, and select has closing tag, and inside it here we need to specify different options that we have. Okay, and for example, the first one, male, and the second option will be female. Same as input, we need to connect this select to our label. So we are going to create an ID, call it gender. And here I'm going to write down for gender. Okay, we're going to save it. And there's another thing that we need to add here. Let me just show you how it looks. It looks like this. But the thing is that we need to pass the value of this as well. So it's very simple. I'm gonna just show it to you, but later when we go deeper into forms and when we want to save the value of the forms into some database, I will explain it more. But for now, just know that when you have an option, you need to add a value, and the value is the result for that selected option. Okay. So I'm gonna add the same thing here and just change the value to female. Okay, save it, and it works like this. Okay, so this is another way to add the gender, and the next one is the date. So let's just, where is it? Here we are. Let's add the date here, and let's come here, birth date. Okay, and for the type, I'm gonna mention date. Okay, and the ID, birth date. And just copy and paste it for here. Save it, and we have a birth date. Okay, you can click on this and select the date you want, or just add the numbers. The next thing is to add the password, which we already have it. And for the next one after that, we need something to upload a file like a profile image. So as I said, it's not gonna work right now, but I want you to get familiar with the type of that field. So the type is file, and here I write down, for example, profile image, and for the ID, I write down image, and here image as well. And for example, it's not necessary, you don't need it. Okay, let's just remove the required from the ones that are not necessary. So here it is. Let me add a BR to the password, and here it goes. And if you click on it, it will open a window to add or to upload files. But of course, when you just select the file and click on sign up, the data will not be saved anywhere, right? And finally, we are going to have a checkbox. Okay, so this is the last input we are going to have here, and the type of it will be checkbox. But same as here, which we had the input and then we had the label, it should be the same. So we need the label to come after the input. Now I will show you how you should do it. So this is the type of it is checkbox, and the ID is terms, for example, terms of use. And the label here says that I agree to the term of use. Okay, and you can add a link here so people can click on it. Let me just show you. For example, here we can add an A tag and put the term of use inside this A tag, and here we can add just an href. I'm not going to add anything because we don't have a page for term of use, but I want you to understand how you can create something like this, right? And the for should be terms to match with the ID of our input. Save it, come here, And here we have it. I need a BR, I think, here. These BRs are really a problem. Later we will learn another method which is much easier, but since we didn't learn it yet, that's an issue. So you see, this is getting the effect from here, because here we changed all the links to this style. It's getting the same style here. So I agree to the term of use, and in general, we shouldn't change the font size, and it should be, for example, with another color so the users can understand it easier. Let me just fix it here, what I want to show you. So I'm going to change the font size to, I think it should be 16 pixel by default. Yeah, 16 pixel. And the color should be, for example, blue. Okay. And when you look at something like this, you understand that, okay, right, I have to agree to the terms, and if I click on this, it will jump to the terms sheet, right? So that was all about the forms and the different input types. I know that it was a little bit long, and you probably needed to spend more time to find the right solution for each of them. But as I said, I wanted you to spend some time practicing it and get familiar with the different types, because as I said, inputs and forms are really important. And as we go forward, when you want to create a good website, in different places you need to create different forms so your website become functional and engage more people, right? And one other thing that I want to mention, never create a sign up for this long. Here it was just a practice, but you don't need a sign up form this line, because when there are too many fields, it will just become a little annoying for users, and they will stop themselves to complete the form. So when you want to have a sign up form, you can just have an email and a password, and add the rest of them later in the profile when they want to edit their profile. For example, they can upload an image, or they can, for example, add a phone number maybe, or name, etc. Okay, so you can do all that later in the profile, but for sign up, try to keep things simpler, right? So that was all about this lesson, and if you're ready, let's go for the next one.